Shop playing room. Test 1, 2.
All right, it's just after 9:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do have quorum in our bare bones committee that we have here with 5 members, but Councillor Hughley should be here at some point. I won't repeat that, Councillor Elshinteri. Just want to welcome you to the inaugural meeting of the Agricultural Affairs Committee for this term of council. It's a pleasure to sit as chair for this term, and I want to thank the previous members on last term, Councillor Kadri, and of course Councillor Thompson for his time as chair. And I'd like to welcome Councillor DeRuse, who is the new vice chair of this committee for this term, and also of course Councillor Hughley. I'm sure he's listening simulcast because we have there's probably thousands of people that listen to simulcast at this meeting, so I can only imagine that Councillor Hughley is currently one of them. So again, we're looking forward to the work of this term. We've done a lot of good things in the last 4 years, and we don't always tout about them as much as we probably should. For instance, the expansion of the severance allowance to allow for a second severance on properties in the rural area, the allowance of building on Councillor Hughley, hey, Councillor Hughley, hey. So, but the allowance of lots of record, building on lots of record, we had an issue with that, and we corrected that through an anomalies report, which I think was good for the rural area. For this term, one of the things which we'll get into shortly is moving the meetings. So this would be the first and likely last meeting held in Champlain Room, as we'll be looking to move the meetings to Ben Franklin Place for the remainder of the term. It doesn't preclude us from being able to go out and host meetings in the rural area on a needs basis when there's a major issue. Like, for instance, we will have several issues coming up in the future. I know that Councillor Blais will be working on the Carlsbad trickle feed water system. I know in my ward we'll have several development applications in Richmond and Manotick. And there's always fun stuff going on in West Carleton with Councillor Elshinteri. So we'll have opportunity to be able to go out and host meetings in the rural area as we see fit, to make sure that when we do go out to the rural area for meetings, we're there with an agenda that fits the environment we're in. Of course, that wasn't always the case in the last few years, and we heard that time and time again from our passionate residents. So we want to try to address those issues, of course, and then keep in line with the fact that we do want to make this committee as accessible as possible to the folks that we're trying to serve. So, having said that, we'll get right into the agenda. Declarations of interest for today. Seeing none. Confirmation of minutes from the meeting of October 1st, 2014. Carried. One and two. Okay. So before I get into the agenda, I have to read our customary Doug Thompson statement at the start of every meeting. This is a public meeting to consider the proposed zoning amendments listed as item 14 on today's agenda. For the item listed above, only those who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Municipal Board if Council does not adopt an amendment within 120 days of receipt of the application for zoning and 180 days for an official plan amendment. A comment sheet is available at the door for anyone wishing to submit written comments on these amendments. So on to the agenda. We do have a speaker registered now for item 1 and 2. I was going to hold item 2 anyways, but we'll hold item 1 as well, which is the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Terms of Reference. Item 2, of course, is the alternative meeting locations for our committee. On item number 3, Jerry Lyons Bowling Alley. That's the naming of the North Core Bowling Alley after a neighbor of mine. I just want to thank, we don't need to hold this, but I just want to thank a friend of mine, Jason Moore. It's his grandfather who's being commemorated. Jerry Lyons was actively involved. He passed away last year, but he was actively involved in a lot of things in Rideau Township, namely the creation of the bowling alley, the building of the bowling alley, the construction of the Alfred Taylor Recreation Center in North Core, the construction and development of the Manotick Arena. We wouldn't have a lot of the recreation facilities in Rideau Township if it wasn't for Jerry Lyons. So it's a very fitting commemoration. I think we had received 20 letters of support in favor of that, which is actually quite outstanding for such a small community. So on item number 3, on the naming of the Jerry Lyons Bowling Alley. Carried. Item number 4 is another commemorative naming in Rideau Woburn, at Leela Scarf Park. The Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the proposal to name a new park at 208 Spindrift Circle, Leela Scarf Park. On the item? Carried. Item number 5, Mansick Business Improvement Area Board of Management appointees, 2014 to 2018 term of council, that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve appointments to the Mansick Business Improvement Area Boards of Management as outlined in Document 1 for the term expiring November 30th, 2018. Carried. Item number 6, status update, Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee inquiries and motions for the period ending 29th of January 2015, that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee receive this report for information. Received? Received. I get into a number of other appointments to various boards and agencies. Item number 7, appointments to the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. Further to deliberations of the selection panel, that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the following appointments to the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority with terms to expire on November 30th, 2018. The members are Ed Hand, Tom Scott, Peter Leanhouse, Aaron Greco, and Ralph Pentland, with Brad Smith and Jennifer Wallace as reserve members. Carried. Appointment to the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, item number 8, further to deliberations of the selection panel, that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the following appointments to the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority with terms set to expire on November 30th, 2018. The members are Phil Sweetnam, John Carrow, I could be wrong on that, and Janet Mason as reserve member. Carried. Item number 9, appointment to the South Nation Conservation Authority. Further deliberations of the selection panel, that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the following appointments to the South Nation Conservation Authority with terms set to expire on 30th of November 2018. That Alan Perks and Doug Thompson as voting members, and Magda Kubasevich as reserve member, and the appointment of Councillor George DeRuse as a council representative. On the item? All right, now no fights between George and Doug on that. Item number 10, appointment to the very popular, and we had probably about 300 applications for this one, the Moore's Landing Quillon Port Authority. Further to deliberations of the selection panel, that the Agricultural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the following appointment to the Moore's Landing Quillon Port Authority with a term set to expire on November 30th, 2018. Ian Glenn. Carried. Item number 11, appointments to the Royal Panel of the Committee of Adjustments. Further to deliberations of the selection panel, the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the following appointments of individuals to the Royal Panel of the Committee of Adjustment. All terms to take effect on June 1st, 2015 and expire November 30th, 2018. The panel consists of Fred Barkhouse, Bill Burden, Stephen Lewis, Martin Vervoort, and Fabien Poulin, and Terry Otto as a reserve member. On the appointments, carried. Now on to City Operations Environmental Services Departments. This would be 2 municipal drains. So item number 12 is Cassidy Municipal Drain modifications. That the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council consider this report pertaining to requests for modifications to drainage works and appoint John Van Gaal of Stantec Consulting as the engineer of record to prepare a report in accordance with Section 76 of the Drainage Act. Of course, this is just merely an appointment of the drainage engineer to assess what kind of modifications will be necessary to Cassidy Drain, and that report, of course, would come back to this committee. On the appointment? Carried. Item number 13, the John Taylor Municipal Drain modification and relocation. That the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council consider this report pertaining to requests for modifications and relocation of drainage works and appoint Andy Robinson of Robinson Consultants as the engineer of record and prepare a report in accordance with Section 78 of the Drainage Act. Carried. And item number 14, Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-250, Anomalies and Minor Corrections. In that report, there's about 3 items that pertain to the rural area that the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee recommend Council approve the amendments to zoning bylaw 2008-250 as illustrated and detailed in documents 1 and 2. Carried? All right, so we'll go back to item number 1, which is the terms of reference for the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee. I think we need a presentation by any means, so we'll go straight to the delegation. Shirley Dolan would like to speak to that item. Welcome back, Shirley, and as you know, you have 5 minutes.
I won't need anywhere near 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and councillors. My comment today is very brief. There was an indication, I don't know if it was in the newspaper or where I saw it, that this committee might be entertaining the notion that they would have any changes to the official plan that would impact the rural areas come to this committee. And I would just like to say that I very much support that. I think official plans are quite complex, and a discussion at this committee of those items that would affect the rural areas would be very useful, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. Thank you, Shirley, for that presentation. I back in December, I put forward a motion to bring the oversight of development charges in the rural area to this committee. That's in the terms of reference that you see here before you. And seeing as we won't review the official plan until 2018, my intention is to bring forward a similar motion during the midterm governance report, which would be likely in 2016, early 2017, to do just that, to bring oversight to the official plan amendment items that pertain to the rural area to this committee, so that when that official plan review does take place in 2018, 2019, that this committee has that oversight.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. And you can stay there.
Do you want me to stay?
You might as well stay. There's no point to go.
Sure.
So anything else on terms of reference for the committee? Oh, sorry, we have a technical amendments that we have to put forward first. And it's not yours. Councillor Deroux, Vice Chair Deroux.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee terms of reference be amended by replacing bullet 4 under general responsibilities with the following. Receive report from staff regarding the exercise of delegate authority by law 2014-435 on items within the committee's mandate.
Thank you, Vice Chair Deroux. On the amendment and on the item as amended? Carried. Thank you. Item number 2, of course, is the item that I was going to hold anyways. It was the alternative meeting locations for the Agricultural Rural Affairs Committee. Before going to the delegation, I just wanted to speak to this briefly, just to let you know where this came from and why we looked at doing this. At the end of last term, when we were preparing the governance report, we brought forward things that we heard in the last term, which was namely, and I use this example all the time, the September 4th meeting that we held in VARS, if I'm not mistaken, had about 6 or 7 items on the agenda. The closest item to that location was 5557 Dickinson Street in Manotick, which is approximately 37 kilometers from the meeting location. So every single item on that agenda required people to travel the entire length of the city just to get to the committee meeting where their items were being heard. Of course, this creates the illusion that we're trying to avoid having their inputs, and we want to try to avoid that, the optics of that, which is why we made a decision to stop doing the regular traveling meetings in the rural area. Of course, I was clear to say at the time that was not that we didn't want to do those at all. It's just that the way we were doing it in the last few years wasn't working anymore. But bringing this report forward at my request was all about trying to find another another way to do it, another way to hold these meetings where we're closer to residents, and bringing them all with the will of committee, bringing these meetings to Ben Franklin Place, which is the geographic central location of the city, of course, aptly named Center Point. It achieves that. It's a lot easier for a lot of residents to get to, even Councillor Blais, who has to drive a little bit further. But the rest of us are all kind of South End and West End councillors, so 4-1. It really doesn't matter. It's true, he gets a bus pass with his Transit Commission chair, so we're just trying to make sure that he sees more of the city as Transit Commission chair. It's win-win for everyone. Yeah. But also the fact there is more available parking. It's free parking. We're hopeful that it'll be welcomed in the rural area, and from what I've heard, it is. We haven't set a time so much as to say that in the next, I think the first few meetings, we should stick with a morning time of 10 a.m. through the winter. And then I would encourage my colleagues to confer with their residents as to if they feel there would be a desire to have evening meetings, particularly in the summer months. But I think that's still up for debate as to whether we do that. Of course, we can change those times as we see fit, and as we can with the meeting locations, as I mentioned before. So that's where this came from. That's why we're here. That's why the report's here. And I just wanted to touch on that briefly before listening to what Ms. Dolan has to say. So, Shirley, on the item.
You stole my thunder a little bit. We certainly agree. I've talked to a number of people in the rural area, and they certainly agree that Ben Franklin Place is a very good option. And in fact, I think I did send an email to the committee just offering that as a suggestion, and we're very glad to see that you've adopted that as the place for regular meetings. For all the reasons that you said and the report said, it's going to work out very well. The only reason I put forth an indication that I wanted to speak to this was because the time was not mentioned, and you have covered that. We'll start at, I believe it's 10 o'clock, or
yeah, I
the
think
meetings will be?
At least for the March and April meeting, we'll start at 10 a.m.
Okay.
And then we can discuss that further before we get to the June and July, the May, June and July meetings.
Okay. Okay. I appreciate that. I did get feedback from some members of the public that evening would be suitable. So I'm very happy to hear that you're considering that, and I will certainly bring this information back to people that I'm speaking about, and I think they'll be very pleased to hear the direction that you're going in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shirley, for taking the time to come out this morning. Does anyone have any questions on the item, on meeting locations? No? Seeing none?
Just cognizant that major items relating to the east end of the city will require simultaneous translation, and ensuring that facility can accommodate that.
Yeah. Jan, can your former town hall accommodate that? It was actually there was a massive lobby effort from councillors Shirelli and Harder to make us return to Nepean, as it is a wonderful place to be in. So we're slowly moving. We're still one committee at a time, and all of a sudden Nepean will be the center point of the entire city. All right, on the item, carried. Thank you very much. So back to the. We actually have one item that we need to add at the end here. It's just in regards to having a rural representative on the Rideau Corridor Landscape Strategy Steering Committee for the 2014-2018 term of council. So we have to waive the rules to add the item. Councillor Blais.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first is the waiver of the rules that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the addition of this item for consideration by the committee at today's meeting pursuant to Section 89.3 of the Procedure Bylaw.
On the item? Carried.
Thank you. I'm just going to go to the therefore be it resolved. Therefore be it resolved that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend the council nominate Doug Thompson to be the City of Ottawa's rural representative on the Rideau Corridor Landscape Strategy Steering Committee for the 2014-2018 term of council as described in this motion.
So our past chair was the member on this committee for the last 4 years, alongside Councillor Chernyshenko, who was the urban member of this committee. Prior to that, it was Councillor Thompson again, and Councillor Doucette from 2008 on. We figure it's important to have continuity. Councillor Thompson, or Doug Thompson, has expressed interest in resuming his role, so we feel it's important to maintain that continuity and give Doug something to do, so he doesn't bother us and come speak to open mic sessions and whatnot, because he's warned us about that. So on that item, carried. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Doug Thompson, who's possibly listening in from Florida. Oh, he's back from Florida. Oh, good. They kicked him out. His work visa expired as a temporary counselor in Naples, Florida. All right. Any in-camera items? I know there's none, so moving on. Information previously distributed, all-terrain vehicles, usage of Blanchfield Road update. That's received. Open mic session. No one's registered for the open mic session. Notices of motion for consideration at a subsequent meeting. Received none, seeing none. Inquiries. Received none. That's it. Adjournment? Good stuff. We'll see you again. Our next meeting is on March 5th, Thursday, March 5th, and it'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning at Ben Franklin Place. Thank you very much.